Film Club.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Film Club. I am one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. With me, as always, it's Andy Dalton.
Hello. It's been 4 years since we started Film Club.
Oh my god, what the fuck?
Yeah.
This is what
4
you
years
tell me
ago.
beforehand. How have we not done a special episode?
We haven't done a special episode, but it doesn't matter because this is probably my second favourite film, Dead Man's Shoes. So what better way to bring in the fifth year of Film Club? Dead Man's Shoes is a film based in the northeast of England, directed by Meadows, and it's a story of a brother called Richard who enacts his revenge. And what a film! What a film! This is on my all-time top 10 lists, top 5, top 3, and my God.
So between This Is England and Dead Man's Shoes, this is what puts Shane Meadows on the map for me. Like, when I think of Shane Meadows, I immediately think of these two, as well as the This Is England TV show that actually we never mentioned last week.
Good call. So he went out and did post This Is England film. Really interesting stuff.
And then, but the Dead Man's Shoes it's kind of a film that I come across constantly when I'm at work. Now, for those of you that don't know, I work as a lecturer in film and video production, and I frequently get students who are from our area. Again, this is the north of England, same place that which Dead Man's Shoes and This Is England sort of takes place in. And I get frequently asked from students, how are they supposed to make a film when the environment in which they live isn't very cinematic?
Oh,
no,
really?
I don't think that's
Is that what they say?
Yeah, it's not a very fair question. I don't think it's not one that I agree with generally. But Dead Man's Shoes and This Is England, but mostly Dead Man's Shoes in particular, is a film that I sort of direct them towards to show just how gripping, how intense, how personally heartbreaking you can make a film, regardless of the environment that you're in, and how someone like Shane Meadows knows how to inject a certain level of drama that is birthed out of the suburban environment.
When I say this is one of my favourite films, I'm not going to go and tell you that this is 100% perfect, because it's not. But for me, it's just got everything in the story of evil versus good versus neutrality versus, there's no good guy in this. It's an anti-hero, but at the same time, he is a monster, as he says towards the end. He is the beast. And it's a film that encapsulates all that kind of emotion, raw emotion. And I normally look for, when I watch a film, I normally, especially with my girlfriend, we normally look for something where it's got a high note at the end. And I don't know, I feel like with this, it's quite the opposite. And I was like, you know what? That's fucking awesome. And it stayed in my mind ever since I watched it in the first time. And it just works in every way possible. And a lot of that is down to Shane Meadows. And a lot of that is down to other people as well. One thing I'd like to point out there is something we didn't go on about last week with This Is England as well, is the cinematography by Danny Cohen. Now, Danny Cohen, I just researched there, has actually gone on to do many other films. He did The King's Speech, Les Miserables. He's managed to capture that gritty environment. I mean, both films are very gritty, but he's managed to capture that gritty environment. And yet at the same time, that stunning Super 8 footage when he goes back in time to go on about, in the past with his brother.
And I think the important thing about the cinematography here is that it's quite understated. We're not talking about something that is lavishly produced. We're not talking about something which is heavily saturated. It's not reliant on contemporary techniques. It's not something that is trying to be Hollywood. In some ways, it's often shot kind of like a documentary is shot. It has that sort of verite fly on the wall sort of feeling to it. It feels under-processed at times. It feels low-key. Now, clearly, like you said, they had, $700,000 to make this on, which is a teeny tiny budget, but it's enough to make your film sort of, look a much higher production value than this if you wanted to. But that low-key, that low-budget endeavor just fits so perfectly with this story of revenge that Richard is on. It's not what I sometimes dislike about some Hollywood films, where it's about somebody who's gone away and has a certain skill set and has access to something. I think if you had shot this, I don't want to harp on Hollywood too much, but if you had given this script to Hollywood quite quickly, they would have made Richard like a Marine, like a trained killer or something like that.
For sure.
And that's really not what he is here. This is meant to be something that is borderline relatable. It's meant to be somebody who has just come from a very recognizable environment, but he's just snapped. He's just been pushed a little bit too far.
Yeah, it's not like Liam Neeson coming back. And I think Paddy Considine portrays it perfectly. I think this is easily his best performance, or at least what I think. And he really, really, really has the face to do this film. There's one of my favourite ever scenes is where he's going down and they stop the car and he comes up to him and he goes, "Oh yeah, yeah, you know, what you doing? He's scared, sort of thing." And Considine just goes up and he goes, "Yeah, get in that car and fuck off." Like, hands down, one of the best insults he can ever do. Like, just shot him down. And he, throughout this film, just goes to show it in his presence. When he's got the gas mask on, which is, I don't know about you, but I found that terrifying. Just something about gas masks that are creepy. And it's just his presence throughout the film, his posture. He's not giving a shit. And there's a really good scene where they go up to the farm to shoot him. He ends up shooting his friend. He's just there with an axe as if saying, like, "Come on, come at me." And throughout this whole film, that grimace that he has, that gritty grimace, is exceptional. And then obviously lead up to the end scene where he's telling a story. He's on about his brother. He's on about how he was a disgrace and all this. And he's like, "I love you." And just that sudden switch. And I think Paddy Considine is incredible. Absolutely incredible.
So speaking of the ending for a second, because if anybody hasn't seen this film yet, please do go and watch this. Just pause the video, go watch it. I know we often sort of talk spoilers in this show, but Dead Man's Shoes, I feel, is a film of two watchings. You have the first watch where you don't know the ending, you don't know the twist that's coming, and it impacts you in a very specific way. You learn about the drama of Richard piece by piece. You learn about the harrowing sort of background of Anthony piece by piece. But I also feel like Shea Meadows is quite clever with the use of the gas mask, because I think on that first watching, most people would assume that the twist coming is that it's probably going to be Anthony who's under the gas mask. And the twist that actually gives you isn't necessarily a groundbreaking, unique one, but it does just add such a wonderful layer of texture and understanding to what's actually going on with Richard.
It's as he said, he's snapped, he's broke, and he's seen his brother, he's talking to his brother, who's actually not there.
There's a wonderful line that demonstrates this, and it's the first time watching it through. Anthony says to Richard, "I don't want to go," and Richard says, "You don't have to." At the time, that first watch through, you feel like he's just saying, you don't have to go into town, or you don't have to go wherever it is, but we're going next. And then the second time you watch that, you get this heartbreaking feeling of like he feels like, the memory of his brother, the essence of his brother, this thought that he's sort of speaking to and interacting with is sort of coming to an end, and he really has to say goodbye or move on in some way.
I'm gonna have to go back to town in a bit, mate, to sort some business out.
I don't want to go, Richard.
You don't have to.
It's fucking rough, mate. It's very rough in this film. Toby Kebbell, by the way, I know he's a bit of a manor role. Shout out to him. He kind of a hard performance to make. I think he does really well, as does Gary Stretch, who plays the main antagonist. Ex-boxer. I didn't know that, by the way. Turns out he was an actor as well. Shea Meadows, one of his best things that he brings to film, not sure I say, is his use of sound music. And there's a really good scene where he comes into the club at the start of the film, and what's his name? That guy with the hat. He comes, what you look like. He goes, you cunt. And then all the ambience just drops and picks back up. And it's, mate, I've gone about how silence is effective. Great example. Great example. His soundtrack, and I'll have this soundtrack on Spotify and I listen to it all the time. I struggled to find a better soundtrack for a film out there ever. Shea Meadows' use of knowledge, his catalogue of folk music, of electronic and everything fits the scene so well. There's loads of transition scenes with that lovely car that they have, just going through the lovely countryside. It was filmed in Derbyshire, countryside of Derbyshire.
That car is ridiculous.
Isn't it? And it's going through, and you just have this really soft, especially after you've had quite a harsh scene where they find the guy and he's the first death and everything after the gas mask incident. And you've got there's a song called "Statue" by Adam. And it's incredible. It's got this lovely kind of board that's like guitar playing anyway. And it rolls into the countryside and it's like day 4. And it's, oh my God, the way that they introduce his music throughout this film is incredible. Now, I actually picked something up from this film on my, however, how many times I've watched this. So you said there before, no, it's a film for 2 watches. For me, it was 3 watches because I was really focused on the music for this one and where they work. Now, there was a couple of songs used towards the end. My favourite moment is that end scene where he's like, do it, end it, and then eventually gets stabbed, and it plays one of my favourite songs ever, which is Aphex Twins' Nano 2. Incredible. Aphex Twins' ambient stuff is absolutely sublime. Now he kicks in, everything stops, and you just have this heart-wrenching piano tone, and it's soft, and it speaks a scene. It's Shea Meadows doing a Shea Meadows. He speaks a scene through his music. And then before that and after that I didn't catch it before, he had some absolutely stunning orchestral moments, some choir, which is I think it was Estonian composers, De Profundis, and that was before when it was actually Anthony getting hanging himself. Sorry, Let My Prayer Rise, which is by Bortinansky. Both songs I've never heard before. My God, it's like the proper deep vocals of very very deep choir. And it was like a whole new experience watching this film again. And then you had the Aphex Twin moments. And then after that, you had more choir. I love this film, but I was so engrossed. Andy, I didn't have this film on DVD, and I didn't know that. So straight after Blu-ray, bought it. So
it's absolutely incredible. And if anybody at home still has yet to watch it, I'm a little bit ashamed that you didn't stop when we told you to stop. But we'll forgive you as long as you stop right now and go and watch it, because there is Dead Man's Shoes. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of Dead Man's Shoes, or you can hit us up on Twitter, as always. But Andy and I will be back once again next week, where we're going to take a look at American History X.
Yeah, I thought I'd give you another bit of my catalogue of top 10s, so I'm looking forward to see what people think.
So until then, get watching.